Active FM. Radio has never been better.
What is up?
Hello, listener.
This is the movie show.
On your favorite ORSPS.
I'm Sash.
My name is Ryan.
And we're talking about the best movie of 2022.
Really?
Honestly,
Okay,
it
wait.
goes up there.
Wait, I'm thinking about what you're saying.
Think about it, Ryan. Think about it. What other movie was good? Okay, The Batman, I would say, was good. But, it was good, but it was good.
Why? Okay, let's put it into why. Best picture for.
What?
Why was it good?
Oh, no, there's a whole lot.
Okay,
It was a film, Ryan. It wasn't a piece of video that they just tried to slap together so that they could make money, so that, they could get rich and go on holiday. It wasn't that. It was not that. It was
an
film.
art piece.
From start to finish, a piece of art. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
And in the next 30 minutes, Sashi will break it down as to why she found this the best picture.
Yeah. I must be honest. So top films of 2022 would be, I'd say, between Elvis and Top Gun Maverick. But they're so different. I know you haven't seen Top Gun Maverick yet.
And you got to put the Grey Man in there somewhere.
The Grey Man was also very, very good.
Thank you very much.
Also, at the Adam Project, I did enjoy the Adam Project. And I did enjoy the Batman. I have to say, I did enjoy the Batman. That was obviously earlier on in the year. But for me, currently, the top two of the year would be Elvis and Top Gun Maverick. But for me, I know majority of people would like Top Gun Maverick because it's a feel-good film. Whereas Elvis is a drama. It's actually not a feel-good film at all. And I mean, it's on his life, and we all know that Elvis died at the age of 42, which is very young, and it wasn't natural causes. So it is a tragedy in effect. But, oh my goodness, the film was beautiful. It was stunning.
I loved the method at which the story was told. He could have. When I first saw what we were watching, and I started, obviously, Elvis, okay, cool. I thought it was going to be one of those biography pics.
Yeah.
Elvis from this small, and see him grow up, and see him pick up his first guitar, and see him sing for the first time, and people were amazed. And then they put him in a kid show. Then maybe he went to the army, and then came back, and then he found his talent again, and then he found the right person, and then he performed for the first time, and then and then it's yay, Elvis at the end, yay.
Elvis.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It was way unexpected. I felt like I was watching an animation, to be honest with you. I was watching completely something different. The director was doing stuff that he didn't have to do, but he did it. Just he really gave us Las Vegas, feel, some of the camera moves.
Those where it was especially in the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. You're just
but
wait,
even the details,
wow.
the small details. There was one part in the film where Elvis goes to, he left America and went to, I think it was Germany, to fight in the army, etc., etc. And I don't know if you noticed, so when they switched to Germany, they made the footage black and white, right. And that that old fashioned 50s, 60s title came up which said Germany, and it was in black and white, and then they did a slow transition back into the color. It was so they didn't need to do it. They didn't need to do it. It wouldn't have ruined the film if they didn't do it. But the fact that Baz went to that much detail, I was just he's so detailed. He adds things that don't have to be there, but because they're there, it takes the film to a whole nother level.
I think the reason why it really helped is because of the times. So it wasn't a very modern made film about something old. He made it very relative to what was happening around that, you said, brought back the black and I'm sure a lot of the footage was really Elvis. There
was footage. A lot of it was Austin. At the end, they do a switch.
The music was any of them.
So the music was. Most of it was Austin dubbing it. So obviously that means he's not singing. It's actually Elvis's voice. However, I think it was before the 1968 special, which is where he wears the leather jumpsuit.
Yeah.
It might have been a bit before then, but all of the early recordings, so like that first performance that they show with Elvis in the pink tux, all of that audio they couldn't use, obviously just because of like the quality and the way it was recorded. So all of the early songs is Austin Butler singing. It's not Elvis. And then later, as the film progresses, then it moves into Austin dubbing what would be Elvis's actual voice. But like the way I agree with you, like they paid homage to the time and they really did that well. But I also like how, and Baz, who's the director, he often spoke about this. He's trying to bring it to this generation. So the current generation, like the way, because we're very different to that time in the world, but he tried to bring it across in a way that people nowadays would understand, you know, like even with the production designer was insane. She did such a good job. Oh my goodness. And the looks, the outfits, they stuck to like Elvis's outfits. Like they really did a good job bringing across his, like, cause he really was like, his fashion was, you know, it's Elvis. It's Elvis's fashion. But what they did was they would modify it slightly if need be, just to almost make present audiences realize like how fashionable it was in those days. And even like with Priscilla Presley, she was a fashion. I mean, she's actually known today for her fashion, because like that's always been what's made her stand out. So even like with her outfits, they did such a good job. It was insane. So Baz Luhrmann is the director. Now, we've actually recently done a film of his. He directed Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio, which is quite an old film, though. That was, I mean, what year was that? That was a long time ago. I'd say the most well-known film of
96.
his... There we go, 96. The most well-known film of his, other than Elvis, is The Great Gatsby. He directed The Great Gatsby. And then I haven't watched Australia, but I know it comes up a lot. Like when you search about Baz or whatever, that comes up a lot. This is actually his 6th film only.
Yeah.
That's insane. But I mean, it makes sense because you can see how much detail he puts into like his work. So it makes sense that, you know, he wouldn't be making like 10 million films a century type of thing. But this is his 6th film. And the interesting thing is Matt Reeves, who directed The Batman, he also, and obviously brought out The Batman this year. The Batman was also his 6th film. So the two of them in the same year both brought out their 6th film together, which I thought was really cool.
Okay.
But I was watching an interview with Tom Hanks and they were speaking about Baz Luhrmann. And Tom Hanks literally he said this of Baz, the director.
Yeah.
He said, Baz makes coffee nervous. That was his literal quote, because he says he works so hard. Like, he's one of the hardest working, like, directors. He's fully into it, and he's also very spontaneous. So he'll he literally will give you notes and be like, okay, we're going to do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow he comes and he'll be like, okay, did you get the notes? And you're like, yeah, I got the notes. He's like, okay, we're not doing that. We're doing this. Like, literally, that's what happened. And Austin even said with his audition process, it was the weirdest audition process and longest. He doesn't even know if it could be called an audition process, because what happened was a whole lot of people obviously auditioned for Elvis. I mean, this is huge. The fact that someone was making the biography of Elvis, you know, like so many people wanted to play. Harry Styles was one of the people that actually auditioned for. So Austin Butler beat these people. Harry Styles was one of the people who auditioned for the role of Elvis. Obviously didn't get it. There were a whole lot of, I'm just trying to find the list now. Here we go. Ansel Elgort, who was in Baby Driver and West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, he auditioned for it. Miles Teller, he's in the latest Top Gun Maverick. He's the young kid in Top Gun Maverick. Oh, okay. And the funny part is Austin Butler also auditioned for his role in Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, really?
So, but then obviously didn't get it. And then Harry Styles auditioned, but obviously the role ended up going to Austin. But what happened was Austin had taped, he had taped, it was, which song was it? He'd originally taped himself singing Love Me Tender and then was going to send that in as his audition tape, but he didn't send it in because he felt like it was just another Elvis impersonation. And I mean, there are so many Elvis impersonators. It's like the one famous person. No one has as many impersonators as Elvis.
Yeah.
Like no one has as many impersonators. But he just felt like it was another impersonation, and so he didn't submit it. And a few days later, he actually had a nightmare. So what happened was Austin Butler lost his mom at the age of 23. So she passed away in 2015. He was 23 at the time. And obviously it was like, he says it's the most grief he's ever felt in his life. Elvis, his mother died, and you see that in the film, but Elvis was also 23 when his mom passed away. And when Austin found that out, he was like, oh my gosh, because like he said, Elvis is like this he's such a huge character, like how do you play that? And he said he realized that there was just an ordinary human in Elvis, actually. That's all he was. And when he found that out about him, that really brought like the human aspect of Elvis to Austin, and he was like, I know what he went through, because literally at the same age we both lost our mother. So what happened was he went to bed the one night, and while sleeping he had a nightmare where he basically relived the whole thing of his mom passing away and all of that, and all the grief came back, and he woke up. And so with that emotion, he decided then to tape an audition where he sang Unchained Melody. So Elvis' song Unchained Melody, which is a romantic song. So usually it would be sung in a romantic way to a girl. But instead, Austin sang it to his deceased mother and recorded himself. He was in his bathrobe. He hadn't even brushed his hair. He literally just woke up, went to the piano, put the camera on, was in his bathrobe, no like hair. You've got to realize he's sending this to like the director of The Great Gatsby, okay? And he's in his bathrobe with like unbrushed hair, and he sings Unchained Melody and then sends that off to Baz. And Baz, it immediately caught his attention, and he wasn't sure. He was like, is this an audition or is this someone having a breakdown? Like, he wasn't sure like what was going on, but he felt like the camera that had filmed Austin was like a spy cam, like it almost shouldn't have been there type of thing. And he then asked to meet Butler, and then he just kept calling Austin back. So like the first day they sat for like 3 hours. Then he said, won't you come in tomorrow and let's like just run through a few lines.
Wait, they sat for 3 hours, just going through the lines?
Just talking. And that's why it's honestly, Ryan, there's been no audition process like this. Then he'd say, come in the next day, let's do a couple of these songs. And something like 6 months later, now, it's the director chooses who they want to cast, but the studio has to sign it off. So if you as a director say, I want Ryan to play my protagonist, and the studio says no,
why?
Ryan's not going to be playing the protagonist. So, and Austin Butler, obviously, I mean, he's blonde naturally even. So it's like, and he has never actually, he's been in films. I mean, he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's been acting forever, but he's never actually gotten like a standout role. So he didn't think the studios would accept him. And then Baz then said he got Austin to put on a like rehearsal show type of thing for the studio, and that's when he like presented. But Austin literally said every time Baz would tell him we're doing this on this day, on the day he'd arrive, and Baz would be like, no, we're not doing that anymore, we're doing this. And the reason apparently Austin said was because Baz is very spontaneous on set. He's very spontaneous, and he wanted to see how Austin would cope with that, because obviously if you're gonna, cast an actor, they've got to be able to work cope with the style, your way of doing things type of thing. So, and obviously he coped very well. And then also, this is crazy. So Austin Butler previously had been he was doing a play, as in like a live stage play. And in the live stage play, his co-star was Denzel Washington. They were both doing this play together. It was called The Iceman Cometh. That is literally the name of the play. And they'd obviously worked together. And Denzel Washington, who doesn't know Baz doesn't know Denzel Washington, phoned Baz and said to him, you've got to choose Austin to play Elvis. He is the hardest working actor in Hollywood. And the reason he did that was because when they were doing the play together, Denzel Washington noticed that Austin was always there early. like earlier than he needed to be there. He was always in early. So what Denzel started doing was he then got in a bit earlier. But then Austin noticed that now Denzel was getting in earlier. So Austin got there earlier. And literally they kept doing that until one day Denzel got there and he was like, okay, I'm here first today. He was sitting on stage and then he saw Austin come down from the dressing rooms and he was like, oh, you're here. And Austin was like, yeah, I've been here for like an hour. So literally that impressed Denzel Washington so much. And he said to Baz, he is the hardest working actor you'll ever work with. You've got to choose him to play Elvis, and that's how Austin got the role. But literally and you can see, I must be honest, you can see Austin worked so hard. You can see he worked so hard to bring across this portrait, and I think he really, really did a good job. In fact, Priscilla Presley apparently was nervous to watch the film. And she said halfway through watching it, she actually, because of how Austin portrayed Elvis, she actually said she then relaxed because of that portrayal.
Okay.
Yeah. But it also actually took a toll on Austin because he didn't get sick once during the whole of production, but after production he actually he was even taken to hospital. They said he had signs of appendicitis, or a virus that goes with appendicitis, and it took him a week to recover. But he never got sick once. But I also, for me, that sounds like I've experienced that. You know, when you're working really hard on something, and like you've got it, you're just like putting your all into it, and then as soon as it's done, suddenly your body just like concaves and
everything
like
just goes.
That literally happened to me once as well. I remember we were working on a film, we were doing all-nighters, there was stress, you didn't care about anything except finishing the project, and then the week after I was as sick as a dog. Because now you're just like, oh, it's done now.
Your body held itself together.
Yeah, your body's like, what?
All right, that's it.
Yeah. So
all vital, everything just
shut down.
Guys, go on holiday. The virus comes in. Oh no, it's fine. Yeah, that's quite cool. And I know that in an interview with Austin, he said it was quite an emotional. Well, because he. Obviously, I mean, if you can play piano, you can play instruments. So
he can play violin, piano, and guitar.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So he himself was a musician, and I know that he ended up. Paul McCartney actually grabbed him. He wanted to sit with him on a train or whatever. That he ended up arranging for him to get on a train.
He knows his daughter.
Yeah,
also knows Paul McCartney's daughter, and she then said, "Come back with us." Yeah.
And he was still like, no, you know, schedule, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And apparently, even like she like cleared up, or Paul McCartney phoned him and just like arranged everything. He just wanted to sit with him because Paul McCartney obviously met Elvis.
Yeah.
And I know that for Austin, even he asked Paul, so what was it like with Elvis? And to hear the story that the experience that Paul McCartney had with Elvis for him, so it was, this wasn't just another movie for Austin either. It was quite a something that he loved, that he was passionate about, coming to music, and yeah.
No, it was insane. Do you know that this is insane? Apparently, Austin is somehow related to Elvis. But it's like, it's a very far, like, removed relation. I just need to find the but it's like this weird, he's so-and-so, 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 like, you know, one of those weird, where you like work it back and you're like, oh wow, they actually, they're related.
And it's not like his mom's grandmother's sister.
It's far removed.
Was the worker in the house of Elvis or something like that?
No.
So
it's actually like
this was
family
related.
related.
Uncle.
Not aunt, like
uncle, sister, brother.
Second cousin to that type of. Yeah. This I found very interesting. So the film's costume designer, Catherine Martin, it's her 5th collaboration with husband and director Baz Luhrmann. I didn't know that he was married to the costume designer. So they've actually done the 4 films they've done together is Romeo and Juliet, then Moulin Rouge, Australia, The Great Gatsby, and now obviously Elvis. And honestly, the costume design was insane. The production design was insane. I think that's one of my favorite things about the film was the scale as well that they went to. Like it was huge. And even I saw they were doing a whole discussion where so what happened was, you know, the Las Vegas concert that he does that's what the first time he wears the fully white jumpsuit.
Oh yes, that's right.
So what happened was they obviously, Tom Hanks was in makeup every day for 5 hours because obviously, I mean, he didn't even look like himself. He literally, the prosthetics were insane, but he would sit every day for 5 hours. Sometimes Austin would be the same, depending, because obviously, like, there was... Elvis went through such a transformation, obviously, over the years. But for specifically for that Las Vegas concert, they got a whole lot of extras in, obviously, because the crowds were always extras. And the extras would come, apparently they'd be on set at like 5 in the morning, obviously go through hair and makeup because they needed to make them look like they were
extras,
in the 60s.
right?
Yeah, they
cool.
needed to look like they were in the 60s.
Okay.
Then they get on set and, you know, they sit around waiting for like 30 to 45 minutes because obviously Austin's getting his hair and makeup done, the production, the crew are all setting up, etc., etc. So they would be all waiting in the audience seats, and then Austin and the band and that would be on stage. But obviously the curtain was closed because they were prepping to start filming, etc., etc. And then Tom Hanks said, so that they're literally like waiting, and then the curtains would open, they'd hear the band start playing, and then Austin would come out and obviously perform. And they literally said they were watching Elvis perform over and over and over and over and over again, but they said it never got old. And Baz works with the same people, so like he'll work with the same camera operators. That's just how I think most directors are like that, because you find people,
it works,
you find people you can trust. And he said there's this one guy that he always works with, and he says they don't talk much, like the guy's not very talkative. They've worked for like so many years and they've probably said like 30 things to each other, but he said after or during filming, this guy turned to him and literally was like, I'd pay to be in this room right now. That's how good it was, that the cameraman was like, I would pay money to be here. So I think like it was just an amazing experience as well on set. And I know a lot of the actors would say, like, when you're not filming your scene or you have a day off, I mean, you're tired, you know, like you go and have your day off. The actors, if they weren't filming that day, they'd still come to set just to watch the performances.
Oh,
literally,
cool.
they all would, they would. Austin even said the one day he wasn't, it was when they were doing the scenes in that, like, the bar, the top of that, you know, Elvis kept going back to that, I can't remember what it was called, but it was that like club type of thing where he still spoke with BB King and all of that. They were filming one of those sequences.
Apartment type of room, yeah.
And Austin wasn't in that, but he was filming on another set somewhere else. But he said he even came through just to watch the performance that took place. So the performances were apparently crazy.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
That's because it's a lot of soulful music.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know that about Elvis before this, that he was like, you can see how he was mixing different genres.
Rock and roll.
You always just assume, I know, old music. Yeah.
Old music.
Yeah, old music. And then in this film, you can actually see, because it's true to that age, you can see that, like, you know, the white folks would be like, you know, that ding, 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 that like cowboy type of music. And then like a lot of the black folks would be like that, like soulful, like that, where rock originally like came from type of thing. And Elvis obviously came along and being influenced by both. That's
where he went.
That's what made him very unique. That was like his uniqueness. So like, I didn't know that about him. It's almost like you watch this film and you got a new respect for Elvis. So you watch Elvis now, you're like, oh, there he is. Oh, you know, wow. You know, type of thing. Yeah, no,
it's the performances were crazy. This is the family relation, right? Austin Butler and Elvis Presley are actually 16th cousins, twice removed. So Elvis's father, Vernon, and Austin's mother share common ancestry. I wonder who we're related to, Ryan. Think about it. Who are you related to?
Steven Spielberg.
Who is your 16th cousin twice removed?
Yep.
You need to figure that out. I'm going to go find my 16th cousin twice removed.
Steven Spielberg is my great uncle's aunt's boss.
There we go. But no, copy Ryan family.
Just
family,
go with
Ryan
it.
family.
All right.
Okay.
Next fact.
So Austin Butler wore a total of 90 costumes throughout the film. 90 costumes.
Like the performance costumes.
Yeah.
Not just the normal clothes that he'd be wearing.
No, as in like his costumes totaled 90. That's a lot, Ryan.
Yeah.
90 costumes. And I think my favorites. I know Austin Butler got to keep the black leather jumpsuits. He
Nice.
actually took that one home.
Ah.
Yeah, I
I'd
liked.
frame it.
Yeah, no,
Eh?
definitely. I liked.
Wow.
I don't know. Personally, I like Elvis's younger style. I'm not a big fan of the jumpsuits. That's just my personal taste coming through there.
That was his thing. Although I'm pretty sure in that era
That was fashionable then.
there was a thing that like you see BB King, like you see a lot of that again.
Yeah.
The rock and that sort of side
Yeah.
of the genre of music.
My favorites would definitely be between the pink suits that he wore in the beginning. I like that one, but then also
Not jumpsuit. The jumpsuit. It was
the
more
suit.
that like
Yeah.
suit.
with the flimsy.
Yeah.
And then the other one
I think he had a
was
blue top, They're like a blue,
Yes.
pink and like a blue.
the other one was the brown
blue.
suit he wears when the first time the Colonel takes him to the the Internationals perform at the stage. You know, the first time.
Yes.
That brown suit, I
Okay.
was like, he looked cool there. I thought he looked
Snowman
cool
does
there.
it again. Yeah. Do you think he really spoke like that?
Yes.
Like it's weird.
I actually saw an interview it was the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
And Austin shows how, so Elvis's voice actually changed over like the different, like his life, I suppose. In the beginning, so he literally did 3 different impersonations. The first one he shows where Elvis is very young and so he's nervous. So he spoke quite fast. Obviously Austin literally obsessed over Elvis for 2 years, so he watched all of his interviews and all of that, and he said in the beginning he was very nervous, so he'd speak quite fast. Then his voice changed a bit, but the last impersonation he did, he actually said his voice came very forward. So your voice, depending on where your voice originates in your face from, will determine how you sound. And it's weird, I know, but it's true. And literally,
Vocalists know exactly what we're talking about.
So Austin said at the end of his life, his voice was coming. It was from the front of his face, and he actually then did it. So you'd hear him switch into it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to watch.
But it literally
Like to see
sounds
that.
like So
What is that? A YouTube interview?
It was with Jimmy Fallon on the Tonight Show.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so that was pretty interesting. So Austin had 90 costumes. Then the actor Olivia, who played Priscilla Presley, she had a total of 25 costumes, but also her costumes were like Vogue type Prada. I actually think they worked with Prada on her costumes because Priscilla Presley would have worn. Yeah. And then the filming was all shot in Queensland, Australia, which I think Baz lives
What?
in Yeah, it was
Wait.
all Australia. It was
What?
all Australia. The whole thing was Australia. They filmed the whole thing in Australia.
Thank you very much.
Moving on.
Wow.
They had a 12-minute
Okay, I didn't know
standing
that.
ovation at the Cannes Film Festival after screening was over. That was the first time Austin also watched the film. The other cast members had seen it, but he said he wanted to save it for that. And literally, they had a 12-minute standing ovation.
I remember in his interview he was talking about that the first time and people stood up and they were all clapping and stuff. And he said, yeah, it's really, really cool, but there was one guy that brought his attention. He's just standing there.
Not clapping.
And he's like, he remembers that guy.
That guy not clapping. Yeah,
so,
sure.
that guy. Yes, Austin.
Yeah. And then Austin also phoned Rami Malek, who played Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
So obviously he also he was Freddie Mercury,
That guy.
and he actually phoned him and asked for advice on replicating the movements of music's past. Because also, I haven't watched Bohemian Rhapsody, but I've heard the final performance that that they show in the film is so well linked to like the camera work and everything. Like literally, if you watched Freddie Mercury's final performance and that like together, it's perfectly like matched. And I know Baz said one of the things he was focused on wasn't really Austin's performance when singing. It was more recreating like the 68 special, and that he was so focused on getting the right shots, and because obviously they wanted to recreate it exactly how it was. So, but that also shows how Austin was so good, because like when Baz as the director's attention wasn't able to be focused on his performance, it was more focused on the technicality of getting the shots and all of that. Austin was able to carry the performance by himself and bring it across, which I think Baz really needed. So yeah. Also, Austin Butler, so he obviously, while doing press, it's a lot of people commented on the southern accents that he used to portray Elvis. He still has it, and Butler actually said that because he spent so much time preparing and filming the movie, it's not that he's trying to sound like Elvis anymore. It's obviously just, first of all, habits. I mean, imagine speaking a certain way for 2 years. Like that would actually affect the way that you speak. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like you would have certain habits because of that.
Yeah, and from the interview, it wasn't that he picked up that southern accent. It's that he changed the tone
of his voice.
The tone of his voice. So
but
he spoke also a bit lower, which I think eventually just became so
natural,
comfortable that it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I like this.
Yeah. Because like I saw one interview where someone asked him, and he's like, I honestly am speaking normal. Like I'm not trying to not speak. I'm not trying to be Elvis right now. But obviously, it makes sense if you're doing that for 2 years to try and get into the character.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really would happen. Yeah. Apparently, I want this to be released. Please release this. According to the director Baz, there is a 4-hour cut of the film that exists. I would watch it. I know there was another film. It was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where there was also like I think it was a 4-hour cut as well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It remains to be seen whether or not this cut will be released.
Really Put on Netflix. Put on something.
I really would watch that. Yeah. Like maybe not in one go, but I would so watch the 4-hour cut of this film. So I feel like they should, like release the 4-hour cut. No. Yeah. So yes, Austin does all of his own singing and dancing, except from the 68 special on. The 68 special was the black jumpsuits. So from that point on, it's actual Elvis Presley, his voice. Whereas before that, then it was Austin singing. And then also, so they obviously filmed it in Australia. Now, Tom Hanks stays in Australia.
What?
Tom Hanks lives in Australia. And Baz obviously comes from Australia. But apparently, Tom Hanks is known as the nicest guy in Hollywood. Like, everyone says he is the nicest guy in Hollywood. And I know that I think Tom Hanks really enjoys, he's a people person. So like for him, when he's on sets, I saw, it was at the Hollywood Insider, they were doing a roundtable discussion, and he was like, the reason we make films is so that we can hang together. Like that is one of the main reasons. So he really loves people. And Baz was saying, like, normally what happens with actors is they'll do the scene, and when they're not filming, the actors will all go to their trailer and stay there until they're called for like the next, because obviously like the set has to change, and they have to do certain things. But he said apparently Tom Hanks never went to his trailer. In fact, he once saw Tom Hanks sitting at a table with a bunch of extras playing cards. Like that is the type of guy Tom Hanks is.
Nice, eh?
And then also he said Tom Hanks and Austin had a really good relationship, and they would often be sitting chatting while like the production design team,
general stuff, getting to know more about each other and what talk about something that happened.
Tom Hanks would give like Austin acting advice and stuff, not as in like to improve his performance, just like stuff from his own.
Give Austin,
like from his own personal career type of thing, and so they would often sit and actually chat. And Hanks gifted
Uncle Hank,
right? Huh? Uncle Tom, yeah. He gifted. So Tom Hanks gifted. This is insane. He gifted Austin Butler with a chrome typewriter. A typewriter. Do you know how expensive typewriters are? He gifted him when Austin arrived in Australia. He received a chrome typewriter, and attached to the typewriter was a note. Tom Hanks had written the note as the Colonel Tom Parker. And so in response, Butler used the typewriter to write a note back to Tom Hanks as Elvis. And apparently throughout production, the two of them ended up sending letters back and forth where they would write as the Colonel and as Elvis. And apparently Butler stated that it was an amazing way for the two of them to rehearse, but also it was based on actual letters that the Colonel and Elvis actually wrote to one another, because they would write to one another. So that's how Tom Hanks and Austin Butler also like kind of rehearsed the relationship between the two of them. But how nice is Tom Hanks?
That's cool.
I want to work with Tom Hanks just so
Yeah.
he can gift me with a typewriter.
I know from interviews that I've seen of him, I've picked that up as well.
No, he's very nice.
That is quite a
Austin
nice
even
guy.
said he's like he hates answering questions after Tom Hanks because Tom Hanks is like a stand-up comedian. Like everyone loves Tom Hanks, and then he's like, I have to follow that type of
Keep
thing.
it going, you know?
This I didn't know this. This is insane. So obviously Austin Butler's naturally blonde. If you know Austin Butler, he's blonde, and he would have had to. He dyed his hair black. In fact, his hair was dark already for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was brown in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And if you see the premiere photos of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, his hair is actually black by then already. I don't know. I think he might have been going into production with Elvis already. Maybe that's why they dyed it black. But then also they obviously added wigs because like he had the sideburns and all of that. But do you know that Elvis Presley, although he's known to have dark brown or jet black hair, was also a natural blonde? I did not know that.
Get out of here.
And I suppose if you think about it, in the film, the kid that plays Elvis did have blonder hair. But Elvis Presley was naturally blonde. I was like,
guys,
what?
You heard it first time here on the movie show. Elvis was actually blonde. So there's something that you guys can impress people around you with, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Have you seen that latest Elvis movie? Oh, yeah, I've watched that. Did you know that Elvis was actually blonde?
Oh, do you know that Elvis was actually blonde?
No way.
Yeah?
Are you serious?
I heard it from the movie show.
The movie show?
The movie, you go listen to the movie show.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. Okay, there's so many facts and we're like running out of time, but I'll just quicken it. So, you know, there's Elvis in the title Elvis, you kept seeing the letters TCB. I don't know if you picked that up. Like they kept showing the T. Basically what TCB stands for is taking care of business. And that was the name of the band that Elvis actually played with. So the guys that he played with, they actually named the band Taking Care of Business, which he played with until his death. So the last performance that he did was with them. Yeah. And then the film has been nominated for 3 Hollywood Critics Association mid-season film awards, including Best Picture, Best Director for Baz, and Best Actor for Austin Butler. And on July the 1st, 2022, the film won Best Actor for Butler. These awards are among the film's first accolades. And for me, I feel like this film's going to get like a lot of awards. Like,
definitely.
Yeah. Like,
because it's so different.
Yeah.
And
it actually dethroned
so well done.
Top Gun Maverick from being number 1 at the box office.
Well, now there you
Elvis
go.
was what took. Yeah. So the film is estimated to have more than 9,000 costumes. These include the main cast and numerous extras, which is insane. Also, I'm so excited for this. Austin Butler's performance earned immense critical acclaim, which earned him the role of Fade Rother, I think that's how you pronounce the character's name, in Dune Part 2, 2023.
Yes,
Yeah, so
that's
Austin
cool.
Butler's in Dune Part 2. I'm like, yay! Yeah. And then also B&K Enterprises costume company made 36 jumpsuits for the film. 36 jumpsuits. There are 9 visual effects companies that provided the visual effects.
Yes.
They are Luma Pictures, Method Studios, Moving Picture Company, Rising Sun Pictures, Fin Design and Effects, Future Associates, Cumulus VFX, I think. That's how you pronounce it. Slate VFX and Mist VFX Studio. I don't recognize a lot of those names. Do you?
Most probably,
Some of them.
some of them, the top ones that you read. But
Yeah, the top ones.
you'll probably find the last couple do a lot of like previs or some other preparation sort of stuff, helping out with all the background sort of thing. I could be wrong, but that's usually what happens. Yes.
Yeah. And then last fact. So, okay, just before I mention, not all of the film was historically accurate.
Yeah.
So they didn't, but I think what they did with the story was very clever. Like how they brought it across was very clever. But I found this quite interesting. So after filming Wrapped, Austin was actually, he kind of went through, they said, an existential crisis because he had spent 2.5 years working on this film. I mean, and he put in his all, like to do that for 2.5 years and then for it suddenly all to just be like over is like quite hectic. So Butler feared that he might sink into depression. He confided in director Baz Luhrmann and Tom Hanks about his woes, and Luhrmann suggested to him that he jump right into something else, which I think is quite clever because like you would go through a bit of a depression. So this is what he jumped into. He went on to shoot Masters of the Air, which will be released on Apple TV Plus. It's a series. I'm actually quite interested to watch it because Barry Keoghan, who was the Joker in the Batman, he's in it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And also Masters of the Air is co-produced by Tom Hanks. How cool is that?
So they made connections, I see.
Right?
So obviously Tom Hanks reached out and said, hey, remember what you spoke to me about? Yeah, no, it's cool. Okay,
I got something for you.
I got the next thing you can jump. I got the next hoop for you to jump in.
Yeah. The only thing that I read that I was like, they should have put that in the film and they didn't, was this. Elvis does not eat a single fried peanut butter and banana sandwich throughout the whole film, even though it was widely known as his favorite food.
Peanut butter and banana.
Mm-hmm. Fried peanut butter and banana sandwich.
Anybody tried that?
No.
Give us a like if you've tried that.
But honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It was so nice to watch a good film.
It was so. That's what I was saying. If it was one of those films, those like ordinary like biography pics, where here's little Elvis and he grows up and you see him process how he got to being so big and where he took the wrong turn. It would have been like, okay, I know about Elvis now, great. I'd probably find some really cool fact to make it really cool. Great movie. I liked. Sashi, what did you like? Type of thing. But like as we've said about other films before, this is a film that you can't. Don't hear someone else say, it was a great film.
Watch it, yeah.
Go watch it. It's like a ride. I can't tell you.
Yes, it's an experience.
It's definitely experience. The music, the mixing, the art, the way, like I said, that the film, even right from the beginning, I loved like how they brought, because obviously when Elvis first appears in a film, someone that big. Because this film, the other thing is that this film was not told from Elvis's perspective.
It was told from the Colonel's perspective.
Which I found so interesting. That was so cool. Like in the beginning, you see a lot of Elvis's back.
Yes.
And the way his head was hung and like the hairstyle. And I'm like, that's Elvis.
They don't show it to you.
So the way that they slowly bring him in, and it was brilliant. It was very much like a fantasy in the beginning, eh?
Yeah.
The way
a lot of people actually said it felt like a superhero film.
You see?
They actually said that. They say it.
Yeah.
I watched it in cinemas. The cinema was full. It was packed. Like the cinema was packed.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. And then I watched it again, obviously in preparation for the show. And I honestly thoroughly enjoyed both times. Like it was both times I'd watch it again and I'd watch the 4-hour release. I really hope they release the 4-hour version of the film.
4 hours. We will do it on our movie show.
And this one in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they need to release the 4-hour cuts for film lovers like us.
Yeah.
They just need
Does
to
anybody
do it.
know anybody?
Please.
Tell them.
Pretty please.
We will speak about the 4-hour version.
For 4 hours. No, I'm joking.
And by the way, people watch our show and they listen to our show. So like if we start talking, people are going to start listening.
Start a hashtag.
And they're going to start watching.
Release the 4-hour cut.
Yeah, people are going to watch it.
We want the Schneider cut. No. We want the 4-hour cut.
You see? Come on.
Yeah, give it to us, man. Yeah. But go watch it, Elvis. Very good.
Yes.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Austin Butler. It's definitely at my top favorite actor list.
And I think that when I see Baz as a director for a film, I'm definitely going to be...
I want to actually go watch... Obviously, we watched Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I actually haven't watched The Great Gatsby properly. I've seen bits and pieces, but I remember when The Great Gatsby came out, people raved. Australia's with Nicole Kidman.
Mm-hmm.
I know I haven't... No. And Moulin Rouge... I started watching and I was just like, this is weird. But I feel
remember-
like I need to go and watch it now with Baz in mind.
I remember Strictly Ballroom. You know, there's this thing that he loves doing. I'm talking about our director, Baz. And I've seen it in Strictly Ballroom. I've seen it in Romeo and Juliet, and I've seen it now in Elvis. There's almost this like speed ramp that he does.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It's like
It almost looks like a drone, but it's not.
Yeah. While he's telling the story, it's
Yeah.
like this sped up type of thing, just to really emphasize. Like.
Do you know he's a ballroom dancer? He was on Strictly Come Dancing.
Really?
Yeah. He
looks like a dancer. Actually,
he even
now that you
fashioned
say
one
that.
of his costumes after the white Elvis jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that he did, what's that movie called? Strictly Come, what's
Yeah.
it? Yeah. The fact that he did a whole film on ballroom makes sense
Strictly
because
Ballroom.
he is a ballroom dancer. Yeah.
Strictly Ballroom. And something I didn't.
Yes, Dacre Montgomery,
And
who plays Billy.
And I had no idea that he's Australian.
Yeah, he's also Australian.
That's
actually.
crazy.
He even filmed for season 4 Stranger Things. He filmed. He's got like a small bit in it. He filmed that small bit in a studio in Australia because of COVID. And
That's great.
Also, the guy that was in Hacksaw Ridge. That you know this guy here. What's his name?
This dude.
Yeah, Luke Bracey, the one next to him.
Yeah.
He was in Hacksaw Ridge. He was the soldier that didn't like Andrew Garfield.
That's right.
And in the end, the two of them become friends and he still dies. And Andrew Garfield still carries his dead body down because obviously the two of them became friends. And yeah.
Okay.
The cast was very good. Cast was very, very good.
Good cast.
Yeah. Yeah. So this has been the movie show.
On Active FM.
Best movie of 2022 so far. In my opinion. My humble opinion.
Are we going to do the film that we spoke about?
Yes.
So can we?
Yes. We are doing a Ron Howard film.
Yeah, Ron Howard.
Go Ron Howard.
It's been some time.
Been a
now.
minute.
Yeah, but we it's been a minute. But we have done. How many have we done? More than one.
Didn't we do Apollo 13?
Yes, we did.
And
Apollo
we
13.
did Frost Nixon.
Oh yes. So we are doing a.
And
film.
we did Han Solo. Solo
You
was
see?
Ron Howard.
We've done 3 of his films. And he did a film now about an actual event that happened called 13 Lives. If you have Prime Video, as in Amazon, it's on there. And there's some documentary footage on there as well. So go check it out for next week for our movie show.
And good cast as well. Colin Farrell, Joel Edgerton. There were other guys in there. I was like, wow.
It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Besides, I think it's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Because it's a true story. Go check it out now. So we're going to leave you to go check it out now. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so signing out.
Peace.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.